Okay, so today we're diving deep into a summary of Nigel Cumberland's 100 Things Successful People Do. Someone sent this in, and I know they're really eager to sort of extract the core ideas here, those practical steps towards reaching whatever their version of success is.
Right, whether it's that promotion they've been eyeing or hitting a personal goal or just like a general sense of, okay, I'm on the right track.
Exactly. And it's interesting because this book, at least from what we see in this summary, it spans a lot of ground. I mean, it's got work stuff, relationships, finances, even peace of mind. So our job today is to kind of sift through that, pinpoint the most thought-provoking, actionable stuff.
Yeah, it's not just about echoing what's already there. It's about going a level deeper. Like, what are the real implications of these ideas? What are the aha moments for someone who wants to learn quickly but thoroughly?
And what's cool is we're not just going to list stuff off. I mean, we're going to really get into strategies for cultivating success. Think about things like the power of pursuing your passions, right? That drive. Or this might sound counterintuitive, but the importance of breaks.
And not just breaks, but like really understanding how essential they are, not just for well-being, but for your productivity too.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely unpack that. And then there's building financial security, which, let's be honest, is a huge part of the equation for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And sometimes a tough one to crack.
And sometimes it's about mindset more than anything. Summary gets into that, like how successful people tend to view their finances differently.
Right. And we'll also get into things like forgiveness, which might not seem immediately connected to success, but actually plays a bigger role than you might think.
Yeah.
And then confidence, of course, our complicated relationship with stuffed possessions, that is.
Yeah, that's a big one. That whole keeping up with the Joneses mentality and how sometimes it can actually hold you back.
Absolutely. And then, pushing past your comfort zone, which is never easy, but as this summary suggests, pretty essential. And then this one's always interesting to me, learning from failure. Because everyone fails, right? It's about what you do with it.
Yeah, and there's a whole section in this summary dedicated to exactly that, how successful people view failure differently.
And then we've got the influence of the people you surround yourself with your network, for better or worse. And then the power of planning, but also being adaptable. And lastly, and this might be the biggest one of all, living with fewer regrets.
Which ties into so much of what we'll be talking about. It's about taking action, making choices you can stand behind.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about that core driver. Following your dreams, your passions. The summary really stresses this, almost as a contrast to that age-old advice of find a stable job, play it safe.
It's like, yeah, practicality matters, but without passion, where's the fuel? And I think this summary makes the point that genuine happiness often comes from pursuing what truly excites you.
Makes you wonder, how many people end up feeling unfulfilled because they went the purely practical route?
Yeah, like there's a piece missing, and that's where the Steve Jobs example comes in. The summary reminds us that he basically said, screw college, I've got a vision, and look what happened.
Yeah, if everyone played it safe all the time, imagine how much innovation we'd miss out on. And this brings up a key question for our listeners. Where are you playing it safe? Maybe not to the detriment of everything, but are there areas where you're holding back on a passion?
Right. And the summary offers a great starting point for figuring that out. Think back to what lit you up as a kid. What did you naturally gravitate towards? What do you do now that makes you lose track of time?
That's such a good point. We often lose touch with those core passions as we get older. Life gets in the way. But revisiting them, that's key.
It's like rediscovering yourself a bit. And once you have a clearer picture of that dream, the summary says, okay, now make a plan. It's not enough to just dream. You got to have action steps.
Right, and it acknowledges there will be obstacles. But it's about keeping your eye on the positive possibilities while also having a realistic sense of the potential downsides.
Exactly, like not being naive, but also not letting fear paralyze you. It's that balance.
Okay, so now, complete shift in gears, taking breaks. This summary actually starts with some stats about how many people, especially in Britain, don't even use all their vacation days.
It's crazy, right? Like this idea that being busy equals being productive is so ingrained. But the summary is saying, hold up, that can backfire big time. Burnout is real.
I love the analogy they use here, comparing this to laptops. We know our tech needs to recharge, but we often don't give ourselves the same courtesy.
It's so true. Like, we wouldn't run our laptops 24/7 and expect peak performance, but we try to do that with our brains.
Yeah, and the summary lays out the consequences of that. I mean, increased stress, anxiety, inability to switch off from work even when you're not working.
All of that leads to fatigue, lower quality work, mistakes, bad decisions. It's a domino effect.
Exactly. And it's not just about big vacations, it's about those micro breaks too. The summary suggests things like, stepping away from your desk for a few minutes, getting some fresh air.
Even just standing up and stretching, anything to break that cycle of sitting and staring at a screen for hours on end.
Right. And they mentioned the Pomodoro technique, which is all about those focused work sprints followed by short breaks.
It's about working with your natural energy cycles, not against them.
And here's a big one. When you do take breaks, especially evenings, weekends, holidays, actually disconnect. No checking work emails, no scrolling through work stuff.
It's about creating that mental separation, letting your brain actually recharge. If you're always on, you're never fully recovering.
Okay, moving on. Financial security. The summary acknowledges that money is important, obviously, for reaching goals, having options, but it really stresses that it's your drive to earn and save that matters most.
It's not just about having a pile of cash, it's about your mindset around money. It even mentions a UK study where something like 31% of earners aren't saving anything.
Yeah, that instant gratification thing, right? Spend it while you got it.
Yeah.
But this summary is saying, hold up, that's not setting you up for long-term success.
It reframes the whole idea of wealth, saying it's not about luxury items or showing off. It's about having enough to meet your needs, both now and in the future.
That sense of security, right?
Yeah.
Not constantly stressing about money. And it says straight up, successful people are disciplined about their finances. They live below their means.
Which can be tough, especially with all the pressure to spend and keep up appearances. But this summary is saying that's a trap.
Yeah, it's about breaking that cycle. And they give some really solid advice. Set clear financial goals, figure out your income, decide how much to save each month realistically.
And that saving, tying it to your long-term goals, that's key. Whether it's retirement, your kids' education, whatever motivates you.
And this is important. Learn to say no to things you don't need.
Yeah.
Impulse buys, keeping up with trends, all that.
And especially avoid going into debt just to look wealthy. That's a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely. Okay, let's get into forgiveness now. This summary talks about how negative emotions like anger and resentment, they can really keep you stuck.
It's like you're dragging that baggage everywhere you go. And it's exhausting, mentally and emotionally.
The summary says, forgiveness is key to moving forward. There's even this line, not forgiving is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Which is so true, right? You're the one who suffers the most when you hold on to all that negativity.
And forgiveness, it's not about saying what happened was okay. It's about releasing yourself from that pain, that anger.
It's about taking back your power, saying, I'm not going to let this control me anymore. And ultimately, you benefit more than the person you're forgiving.
It's about your peace of mind. The summary also says, be willing to distance yourself from people who consistently hurt you. That can be tough, but sometimes necessary.
Yeah, setting boundaries is so important. And it's about surrounding yourself with positive influences instead, people who lift you up.
Absolutely. Okay, let's talk about confidence. This summary defines it as trusting yourself, your abilities, without needing approval from others.
It's that internal validation, that sense of knowing your worth, regardless of what others might say or think.
Right. And it says confidence is crucial for success. It leads to greater satisfaction, gratitude, all that good stuff.
And on the flip side, lacking confidence, it can really hold you back. You're constantly seeking approval, second-guessing yourself.
It's exhausting, right? And the summary acknowledges that confidence can fluctuate, especially based on external feedback. But it says, try to filter out the negativity. Don't internalize it.
Yeah, not every comment is worth dwelling on. Learn from constructive criticism if there is any, but don't let negativity define your worth.
Exactly. And they stress that building confidence is an inside job. It has to start with how you value yourself, not how others see you.
Because if your confidence depends on external validation, it's going to be super fragile.
They even give some tactical advice. Step outside your comfort zone, even if it feels scary. Act confident, even if you don't feel it at first.
There's this idea of fake it till you make it. And sometimes that's what it takes to start building that confidence muscle.
And they remind us confidence isn't about knowing everything. It's about being open to learning and growing.
It's about embracing challenges and knowing you can figure things out, even if you make mistakes along the way.
All right, let's shift gears again. Reducing attachment to material possessions. The summary talks about how people often buy expensive stuff just to project an image of success.
Yeah, that whole keeping up with the Joneses thing. And it's often driven by insecurity, trying to prove something to others.
The summary saying, that's a trap. You can't buy your way to genuine happiness or success. It's about being honest with yourself, asking, why am I buying this?
Is it because I truly need or want it, or am I trying to impress someone? That self-awareness is huge.
Totally. And it says true happiness and success, they're not measured by how much stuff you have. Truly successful people, they don't need to show off.
It's about that inner confidence, that sense of knowing your worth comes from something deeper than material possessions.
And they give some practical advice. Declutter. Get rid of stuff you don't need or use. Embrace a simpler lifestyle.
It's about focusing on what truly matters, not getting bogged down by material things. And it frees up mental space, too.
Okay, let's talk about stepping outside your comfort zone. This summary is very clear. Success requires growth, and growth requires pushing past those familiar boundaries.
It's about breaking out of routines, trying new things, even if it feels a little scary. That's where the magic happens.
And they acknowledge, yeah, we resist change, it's natural. But they say, often we only change when our current situation becomes unbearable.
Like, we stay in bad relationships longer than we should because we're used to them. But that's not growth, it's stagnation.
It's about being proactive, not waiting until you're forced to change. And the summary's direct. Success won't just come to you, you gotta go after it.
And that means taking risks, exploring new paths, even if there's a chance you might fail.
Which brings us to embracing failure. The summary says, failure is not a lack of ability, it's often just a fear of taking risks.
It's that fear of judgment, of looking bad. But they argue most people are so focused on their own lives, they're not judging you as harshly as you think.
Yeah, we tend to overestimate how much others are paying attention to our every move. And they make this great point. The lessons we learn from failure, they're often the most valuable.
Experience is the best teacher, right? They say trust your choices, do what you want, don't let fear of judgment hold you back.
Absolutely. Take those calculated risks, push your limits, and learn from the failures of others who have already paved the way.
It's about turning those setbacks into stepping stones.
Okay, now let's talk about the people you surround yourself with. The summary is very clear. Toxic people, they drag you down.
It's about the energy you allow into your life. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, it's going to impact your mindset, your motivation.
They define toxic people as those who constantly bring you down, prevent you from being your best self. And they say, stop tolerating bad behavior.
Set those boundaries.
Yeah.
Limit your time with people who make you feel uncomfortable, drained, disrespected, whether it's friends, family, or colleagues.
It can be tough, but sometimes it's necessary for your own well-being. And it's about cultivating positive relationships instead, surrounding yourself with people who support your growth.
People who inspire you, challenge you in a good way, celebrate your successes. Your environment has a huge impact on your potential.
Okay, last couple of things here. Planning. The summary acknowledges some people are natural planners, others are more spontaneous, but it says success requires a balance of both.
It's about having a roadmap, but being able to adapt when things change, as they inevitably do.
They say successful people prepare for the future, but are also ready to seize opportunities as they arise. It's about that balance.
Planning gives you structure, reduces uncertainty, but being spontaneous allows you to be flexible, to go with the flow when needed.
And they give some practical tips. Start small, like planning your day. Think through different scenarios, both good and bad.
Develop those problem-solving skills, that ability to think on your feet when things don't go as planned.
They also say, set clear goals, both short-term and long-term. Plan your days, but be flexible. Have backup plans.
And regularly review your plans. Are they still working? Do they need adjustments? Life is constantly changing, so your plans should too.
All right, final point. Living with fewer regrets. The summary says, so many people end their lives with regrets, often about things they didn't do.
Missed opportunities, things left unsaid, time not spent with loved ones. And often these are things that were within their control.
They say successful people, they tend to take those chances, they express their feelings, they prioritize relationships.
It's about being present, making those choices that align with your values, your priorities.
They encourage taking risks, communicating openly, apologize when you need to, forgive when you can, express gratitude. Don't let things go unsaid.
Ask yourself, will I regret not doing this later? That can be a powerful motivator to take action now.
They say live fully, pursue your passions, and regularly reflect on your life. Are there things you need to change? Things you need to do?
It's about taking ownership of your choices and creating a life you can look back on with pride, not regret.
So there you have it, this deep dive into 100 things successful people do. It really highlights that success is built on intentional actions, thoughtful habits. We've covered a lot. Passion, rest, finances, forgiveness, confidence, decluttering, pushing boundaries, embracing failure, the company you keep, planning, and living without regrets.
And the key takeaway here, it's not about being perfect in every area. It's about making consistent effort across all of them. Those small changes, they add up over time.
Now, here's a question for you listening. Of everything we've talked about, what's one thing you could start doing today that would have the biggest positive impact on your journey?
Maybe it's finally taking those breaks you keep putting off. Or maybe it's finally pursuing that passion project you've been dreaming of. What's your one thing?
This summary gives you so much to think about, so many starting points. What resonated most? What are you going to explore further?
And remember, success isn't a destination, it's a journey, it's ongoing. Be patient with yourself, celebrate those small wins, and enjoy the process.
Exactly. As the summary reminds us, success is a journey, not a destination. By incorporating these principles into your life, you're creating that fulfilling, successful life you envision.
And who knows, maybe you'll even write your own 100 things someday, based on your own unique path to success.
That's a great thought. Okay, that's it for our deep dive today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.